Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we are re-diving deep into one of the most powerful and cautionary tales from Greek mythology, the story of Icarus and Daedalus. It's a story you might think you know, a boy who flies too close to the sun, but there's so much more to it than just that. It's a timeless lesson about genius, ambition, freedom, and the dangerous pride we call hubris. Our story begins with Daedalus, a man whose name was synonymous with genius in ancient Athens. He was the greatest inventor, architect, and craftsman of his time. Think of him as the Leonardo da Vinci of his era. His creations were so lifelike that people believed they could move on their own. But genius often walks hand in hand with jealousy. Daedalus had a nephew, Talos, who was showing signs of becoming an even greater inventor. In a fit of blinding envy, Daedalus committed a terrible act, leading to his exile from his beloved Athens. Fleeing his past, Daedalus found refuge on the island of Crete, ruled by the powerful king Minos. Here, his reputation preceded him, and he was quickly put to work. His most famous, or perhaps infamous, creation for the king was the labyrinthine, impossibly complex maze designed to imprison the Minotaur, a fearsome creature with the body of a man and the head of a bull. Daedalus built the maze so perfectly that even he could barely find his way out. For a time, he enjoyed the king's favor, but this favor was a gilded cage. King Minos, wanting to keep the secrets of the labyrinth to himself, refused to let Daedalus and his young son, Icarus, leave the island. Daedalus, the man who could build anything, was now a prisoner. The king controlled the land and the sea, but Daedalus looked to the sky and thought, Minos does not rule the air. An idea, as brilliant and dangerous as any of his inventions, began to form. He would escape by flying. So, in secret, Daedalus began his most audacious project. He gathered feathers of all sizes, from the smallest finch to the largest eagle. He arranged them meticulously, starting with the smallest and gradually adding longer ones, creating a gentle curve like the wing of a bird. He bound the middle feathers with strong linen thread and secured the bottom ones with beeswax. He worked tirelessly, crafting two magnificent pairs of wings. His son, Icarus, watched with youthful fascination, playing with the feathers and wax, blissfully unaware of the weight of their situation. He was just a boy, captivated by his father's magic. Finally, the day of their escape arrived. Daedalus fastened a pair of wings to Icarus's shoulders, his hands trembling slightly as he did. He looked his son in the eye, his voice heavy with a father's love and fear. Icarus, he warned, you must fly the middle path. If you fly too low, the dampness from the sea will clog your wings. If you fly too high, the heat from the sun will melt the wax. Stay close to me. Follow my lead. It was the most important instruction he would ever give. With a final check, Daedalus strapped on his own wings. He flapped them, felt the air catch, and lifted off the ground. He hovered for a moment, an unnatural man-bird, and beckoned for his son to follow. Icarus, with the fearless confidence of youth, leaped into the air. At first, he was clumsy, but soon he found his rhythm, flapping his new wings and feeling the exhilarating rush of flight. Imagine the sheer joy of it. For the first time, a human was soaring among the clouds, free from the pull of the earth. Below them, fishermen and shepherds looked up in astonishment, believing they were witnessing gods in the sky. Daedalus led the way, constantly glancing back, his heart a mixture of pride and anxiety, as he guided his son across the sea, away from Crete, towards their freedom. But for Icarus, the experience was intoxicating. The wind whistling past his ears, the endless blue sky above, the world shrinking beneath him, it was more than freedom. It was a feeling of omnipotence. He felt like a god himself. The warning from his father, once so urgent, now seemed like a distant, overly cautious whisper. Why settle for the middle path when he could touch the heavens? This is where hubris, that fatal flaw of excessive pride, enters our story. Forgetting his father's words, forgetting his own mortality, Icarus began to climb. He beat his wings with growing excitement, chasing the sun, reaching for a glory that wasn't his to claim. Higher and higher he soared, laughing with pure, unadulterated ecstasy. He was no longer following. He was leading his own dance with the sun. Daedalus watched in horror. "Icarus, Icarus, come back," he shouted, his voice lost in the vastness of the sky. But his son was too far away, lost in his own glorious ascent. The sun, a golden, indifferent eye in the sky, grew closer. The sweet smell of melting wax began to fill the air. Icarus felt a strange loosening in his wings. He glanced down and saw the wax, his very means of flight, turning to liquid and dripping away. The feathers, once so perfectly aligned, began to scatter. He flapped his arms frantically, but now they were just arms. There was nothing to catch the air. The exhilarating feeling of flight was replaced by the cold, terrifying reality of gravity. He was falling. He screamed his father's name, the sound a desperate plea swallowed by the wind. He tumbled through the air, down, 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 until he plunged into the sea that would forever bear his name, the Icarian Sea. Daedalus, circling helplessly, saw the stray feathers floating on the water's surface. He eventually found his son's body and, with a heart utterly broken, carried him to a nearby island for burial. The greatest inventor in the world had conquered the sky, but in doing so, had lost the one thing he treasured most. His genius had granted him flight, but it couldn't save his son from his own youthful arrogance. So, what is the true lesson of this myth? It's often summarized as, don't fly too close to the sun, a warning against reckless ambition. And that's certainly a huge part of it. Icarus's story is the ultimate cautionary tale about the dangers of not respecting limits, of letting exhilarating success blind you to the rules that govern reality. But there's another, equally important part of the warning that often gets forgotten. Don't fly too low. Daedalus warned that the sea's dampness was just as dangerous as the sun's heat. Flying too low represents a different kind of failure, the failure of mediocrity, of playing it so safe that you never achieve your potential. It's the danger of being weighed down by complacency and fear, never daring to rise at all. The true wisdom of Daedalus is in finding the balance, the middle path. It's about having the ambition to soar, but also the wisdom to know your limits. It's about embracing freedom and innovation, but tempering them with humility and respect for the natural order. Icarus's tragedy wasn't just that he was ambitious, it was that his ambition was unchecked by wisdom. And Daedalus, for all his genius, lives on as a tragic figure. A father who gave his son the means to fly, but couldn't impart the wisdom to navigate the journey. This ancient story still resonates so deeply today because we all face our own sun and our own sea. We are constantly navigating between the desire to achieve greatness and the fear of failure. The story of Icarus and Daedalus reminds us that the greatest challenge isn't just taking flight, but sustaining it. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into Greek mythology. I hope this gave you a new perspective on a classic tale. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. Let me know in the comments what you think the most important lesson from this myth is. Until next time, fly safely.